Have you ever been at home and felt like you're being watched? Not from the street, not through the window, but from inside your house. You sense something in the room with you, maybe behind the curtains or beneath the floorboards. Silent and always watching. She can help you, or she can harm you. Welcome to the Mysteries of Mythology. Kikimora. Kikimora is not a fairy tale. She's not quite a monster either. Kikimora is something in between, a house spirit from Slavic tradition who rewards order and punishes chaos. In this episode, we'll explore who she was, where she came from, and why her presence still lingers today. You might have seen her before, twisted into a creature in The Witcher, or glimpsed as a shadowy figure starring in John Wick's Ballerina.
In Slavic mythology, the Kikimora is a spirit that exists in the shadows. To those with darkness in their hearts, she can be vengeful. But to the innocent, she can be a protector.
But here's the thing. Those versions miss something. The real Kikimora isn't just a spider demon. She's not out to punish the wicked or protect the pure. She's closer than that. She's the feeling in a silent room, the breath behind a curtain, a spirit who doesn't judge, only reflects. Because in the old stories, Kikimora wasn't good or evil, she just was. And how she acts depends entirely on you. So where does Kikimora come from? The name itself is a bit of a mystery. Some say it comes from Old Uralic or Finnish words like Kikimora. I'm sure I pronounced that wrong, but it means scarecrow or boogeyman. Others link it to Old Slavic terms for spirits, the kind that linger just out of sight. But Kikimora is likely older than writing. She probably began as Domovaya, the female house spirit, the counterpart to Domovoi, her male equivalent. He had the job of securing the home, its walls, its fire, its warmth. She watched over spinning, weaving, and the rhythm of daily life. Some believe her name holds a deeper meaning. The second part of her name, Mora, may link to the ancient Indo-European root mer, meaning death. It's where we get the word nightmare. You will also find it in words like mortal, mortis, and martvi, which is Polish for dead. So even in her name, Kikimora carries a bit of a shadow. It's a quiet suggestion that when order breaks down at home, something darker might slip in. In some tales, she's more than just a spirit. She's a soul left behind, born from sorrow, a child lost too soon, or a woman betrayed, someone never laid to rest. Scholars have linked her to Mokosh, the Slavic earth goddess, spinner of fate, protector of women's work, and keeper of life. But as Christianity spread, Mokosh faded, and Kikimora took on a smaller role, no longer divine, but still watching. She became what many old spirits become, a warning, a whisper, a story told to children. Keep your chores done, or Kikimora will come. And in that shift from goddess to ghost, we can see how belief changes, how the divine becomes domestic, and how the sacred doesn't vanish, it just moves into the walls. So what does Kikimora actually look like? Well, that depends on who you ask, and when you ask. In some stories she's barely visible at all. A flicker in the corner, a rustle behind a curtain, gone before you can turn your head. More of a presence than a person. but in other versions she's a shape, and it's not a friendly one. She's usually described as a small, thin woman with a hunchback and tangled hair. Her clothes hang loose and look unwashed. Her face is long and narrow, almost bird-like. And in some stories, she has the feet of a chicken or a duck, linking her to swamp spirits and the strange world just outside of civilization. Not all versions are quite so eerie though. In some Western and Northern Slavic traditions, Kikimora is more like a ghostly housemaid, pale, quiet, and always working. People describe glimpses of her sitting by the stove or spinning thread at night. Her hands always busy, sewing, mending, weaving. She never seems to stop. And that thread that she spins is more than just fabric. In mythology, thread is often symbolic, representing life, continuity, or fate. It shows up across cultures, from the Greek Moirai to the Norse Norns. So, whether Kikimora appears as a quiet caretaker or something closer to a crone, the idea is the same. She belongs to the house. She lives in the background, in the corners we normally ignore, but always seem to notice when something is off. Kikimora isn't just something to fear. She can be seen as a reflection of the state of your home, or maybe the condition of your mind. She reacts to what's around her. If the house is clean, if the chores are done, and things feel calm, Kikimora is helpful. She might finish your spinning while you sleep, help the hens lay more eggs, even rock the baby when the parents are too tired to move. Most of the time, you wouldn't see her, but you might sense her. Like a quiet, steady presence in the room, something working in the background. In some households, people left her small offerings: bread, salt, scraps of cloth. Not as worship, just as a thanks. Over time, she became a kind of domestic helper. Not divine, not malevolent, just part of the rhythm of the home. But when that rhythm broke, she changed. If the house was messy, if there was a conflict, she'd tangle thread, burn food, keep people awake with unexplained sounds, creaks, knocks, and whispers. If the spinning wheel sat idle and the fire burned out, Kikimora turned disruptive. In some places, she was blamed for sleep paralysis, the sense of being held down. This became known in folklore as Kikimora's ride, as if she climbed on top of a person at night like a rider on a horse. In other stories, seeing her shadow was a bad sign, an omen that illness or death might follow. Still, most tales agree she doesn't act without cause. She reacts to neglect, tension, and disorder. If the home falls apart, she responds. Not out of cruelty, but as a kind of consequence, a reminder to restore balance. Like many old spirits, Kikimora changes depending on where the story is told. In most of Eastern Europe, especially Russia and Ukraine, she lives inside of the home, usually behind the stove or under the floorboards, out of sight but always there. But in rural areas, especially near forests and swamps, her image starts to shift. Some stories describe two different types of Kikimora. One is the house spirit, the version most people know. She's connected to spinning, weaving, and the quiet routines of domestic life. The other lives in the swamp. She's darker, less predictable. She isn't tied to order or the home. She's more closely associated with fear and uncertainty. Some say the swamp Kikimora was once a woman who died under tragic circumstances. Others believe she was never human, just something ancient that lives in the landscape. She's said to lure travelers off the path using lights and mist, Similar to will-o'-the-wisps, her voice is described as thin and distant, like a baby crying in the wind. Even so, she isn't entirely hostile. As with the house spirit, she is reactive. If you move quietly, show respect and don't disturb her surroundings, you'll likely be left alone. But if you mock her or ignore her signs, you may run into trouble. In some stories, she's said to be the wife of Leshy, the forest spirit. Together they form a kind of balance, the domestic and the wild, the known and the unknown. Kikimora is also sometimes confused with Zmora or Mora, a spirit more common in Western and Southern Slavic folklore. The figure is more strongly connected to nightmares and sleep paralysis we spoke about earlier. Folklorists like Linda Ivanitz and W.F. Ryan describe Kikimora as a domestic presence, a quiet enforcer of household order. Zmora, on the other hand, is more often described as malevolent, something that actively attacks or drains. So while Kikimora might cause problems when the home is neglected, she isn't a straightforward creature of the night. What makes her especially interesting is how she changes from place to place. She adapts to the fears and values of each community, but one thing stays the same. She's always there, somewhere nearby, watching. On the surface, Kikimora is just one of the many house spirits in Slavic folklore, but the stories around her suggest something more. She represents the invisible systems that hold daily life together: routine, maintenance, care, the quiet work that keeps a household stable. When those things are neglected, Kikimora appears, not always as a punishment, but as a signal, a reminder that something is out of balance. She's also closely tied to traditional roles within the home, particularly those associated with women. In many Slavic households, women were expected to manage domestic life, cooking, sewing, spinning, keeping the house in order. Kikimora became part of that structure, a way to reinforce those expectations. When the household was looked after, she helped. When it wasn't, she disrupted things. But she wasn't entirely bound by that role. Even though Kikimora was confined to the home, she still had agency. She could act, she could interfere, and she couldn't easily be ignored. In that sense, Kikimora reminds us that small things matter. The undone task, the daily habit, the emotional tension left unresolved. A house often reflects the people living inside of it. A folklore like this suggests that when things go wrong at home, something will respond. So what do you make of Kikimora? She's not a monster from the forest. She's not a demon sent to punish the wicked. She's something closer, quieter, more personal. She's the sense that something's off, the chill in a silent room, the creak when no one's moving. She's the spirit of the home, for better or worse. She reminds us that what we do behind closed doors matters, that the care we give to our surroundings and each other can shape how a place feels. So the next time your house creaks at night, or something feels off, and you're not sure why, maybe it's not just the plumbing, maybe it's Kikimora.